How are you doing? We've got the Not Your Normal Sunday show. Jeff Doherty and Wayne Steiger. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I apologize for my camera orientation, but I'm on the road, so things are not ideal. But
Yeah,
here
that's
with you.
cool. That's cool. Let me try to see if I can remove this. If I remove you, Jeff, come back on. Let's see. Well, it's not letting me do that either. Okay, let's see. Anyway, so Jeff, it's raining in Florida. It's supposed to be sunny all the time. What's up with that?
Yeah, it's one of the things that happen in Florida from time to time. I think there's a tropical depression or a tropical storm, and the key is not letting a tropical depression lead to your depression. And
Oh,
it's like I think my youngest subscriber, and a very smart young lady who I do learn a lot from. Her name is Sophia. And every now and then she reminds me that, now, Jeff, even unicorns need to meditate.
well, that's true.
So if unicorns need to meditate, then we do as well. So this is one of those days where it'd be great for meditating because it's very stormy outside.
All right, well, soak it up. Hey, I just want to say hello to everyone out there in the chat room. Good Lord, we got 70 people, Jeff, that have come and join us. So
excellent.
It's just Warrior Princess. Hello. Well, we got the community here, so it looks good.
And I think the ghost Jeff dropped off. It looks like it's just you and I now.
It just went woo.
that was me from another quantum reality.
So that's it.
This one, and we let him take the day off.
So
it's just like multiplicity, only different.
I love it. I love it. So I've got the shirt for the show today, and I just want to show everyone. This is Karma. Says the curse is broken. So I think karma is a curse, to be honest with you, Jeff. I've been thinking more and more on this, that if karma is a fact, and let's take it up the level, that people who believe in reincarnation, that you somehow get cycled back through, then the only way I can determine karma is to be a curse.
Yeah, I take a mediating position on all that. I do believe that up until now, or up until the time of either the coming of the master or the message of the master, that we were very much indeed condemned. I don't think it's too strong a word, to be on a cycle of reincarnation over and over and over and over and over. But I believe that when the master came and he said that he was the way, the truth, and the life, and most Christians mean that it's our way, our truth, if you want any life. But if you get into the Greek, he said, I'm bringing you the best of all the ways, the best of all the truths that will lead to the best of all life. He called it life and life more abundant. So I think the master, or at least the master message, that coalesced around one person, whether there was the master or not, is irrelevant. I believe that message, as he told Nicodemus, gives us the key to completing our ascension, to completing our assignments, if you will, within a single lifetime. And some of my spiritualist friends have talked to me and said, if we're truly a spirit, which we are, then why would a spirit, having left this body, be required to come back into a body for its growth and development? Doesn't make any sense, isn't logical. So while I believe in karma in the sense of you reap what you sow, I believe in karma in the sense of, what you do, you're going to have to deal with the consequences of it. I'm not a fatalistic believer in karma. I don't think it has to be one certain way. I don't think we choose, quote unquote, to come into things. I think we just have to clean up our own backyards, deal with the things that we've done. But I wouldn't be fatalistic about it. And I believe now in regards to reincarnation, we now have what we need to know to be able to be divine, sovereign, and free at the end of our incarnation and decide where we want to go next. Nobody's telling us where to go. Nobody's telling us what to do. As long as we realize we're divine, we're sovereign, and we're free.
That's interesting. Well, I don't know if the thing about reincarnation, I had this discussion yesterday with a very good friend. And I told her, I said, well, explain to me then, if reincarnation is the recycling of spirits, because there's a lot of debate as to whether or not we actually have a soul. But anyway, finishing out the thought, that I said, so if you go back 70,000 years, anthropologists estimate at the most maybe 50 million Homo sapiens of other different species along with us. So where did the 7.5 billion souls come from? I
That's a
mean,
good question.
that doesn't make sense.
Well, I think that sometimes we're a little bit maybe myopic in our viewpoint. We kind of get into the mindset, and it's very human and natural of us that, you know, we're all that there is. It's kind of like the old Christian us for and no more kind of mindset, you know, our denomination, our church, our pastor, you know, our doctrine. And what happens on this earth, I don't think that we are possessed of all knowledge. I think that, you know, how many millions or billions of souls are, and I think this body is the soul. I know we may differ a little bit on that, but I think linguistically, from all I've read and studied, that the body is the soul, the spirit would be the intangible part of us. And I have no problem believing that there is a finite number of quote unquote human souls or Homo sapien souls. But I'm not so sure that maybe soul, and I'm using bad language, spirits, but I'm not so sure, Wayne, that maybe spirits from other dimensions, other realities, other locations, maybe even other interplanetary locations might opt for incarnations on this planet as well. I think there's too many variables for us to be able to pin it down exactly, but it certainly makes for a great discussion.
Well, yeah, I like what you brought up. You see, I think it's incarnation, not recarnation. I think that we incarnate in continual different levels. And I'll tell you the reason why I'm getting to this. I'm writing a book, I'm doing a lot of research, and so I have been studying magic. I mean, the serious magic. I'm talking about the kind that invokes the high lords.
I am well familiar with that, my friend, and found it to be quite practical. And I agree with you. I think reincarnation is the spirit trap. It's the spirit matrix. It's other beings locking us in. Choosing other incarnations is a divine, sovereign, and free choice. I'd agree with you 100%.
Yeah, that's how I'm seeing it. And the thing that I'm learning, Jeff, when I was in Christianity, I was part of the Word of Faith group, the Kenneth Copelands, the Kenneth Hagins, Jerry Savells. I know Joyce Myers. I was with Joyce when she started her ministry.
My prayer for you, brethren, is that you should prosper and be in health.
Yeah. So I know the scriptures, particularly where it comes to faith. I mean, that was the mantra for decades.
That's the old name it and claim it days.
Oh yeah, and I can still quote to you in the Gospel of John, where 5 different times in 3 chapters, it says, "You ask anything in my name, and it will be granted unto you," representing all that I am. And it goes on, not once, not twice, not thrice, not fourth, but 5 times, cinco. And the thing is, and then you go and you look in the book of Hebrews, and it says, Romans, where it says, anything that doesn't proceedeth from faith is sin. So faith without works is dead. I can go.
Wayne, I have to tell on myself, we used to call you guys gab it and grab it.
Well, and it worked. It worked. Hey, listen.
It is, Wayne. It's very low level, rudimentary, amateurish, bumbling magic. But if you bumble enough, sometimes it works.
All I know is I don't have a citation 10. Want one? Love to have one. That people actually sent money to buy you one. Now that's strong magic. May be rudimentary, but nevertheless, it's strong magic.
So Creflo, I want you dollars, knows a little bit about the work of ritual and incantation.
That's all it is. And that was my point. I'm reading how to invoke some very high spirits, some that I've never even heard of. And I won't speak their name, because as I'm learning that, and I know this part to be true. You speak the name, you begin to invoke and lend your energy to that substance, that spirit, whatever you want to call it. But my point,
share with you something that I heard in some magical workings from what we would call gods or deities or high entities. I was told in no uncertain terms that maybe it's time for you to stop asking and just start doing.
Yeah, but you know what? Only a fool goes out to places that he has not first surveilled. My point is, I don't want to give allegiance to any spirit. A God in the Bible, the God of the Quran, the God of witchcraft. What I'm finding out, it requires you as an individual to make a decision to align yourself with that spirit. And that's where I am coming in my life. I'm telling them all, I don't want any of you. Just leave me the freak alone.
Can I ask you a question, Wayne?
Yeah.
You have a very successful career in business, entrepreneurial, a lot of it. And did you ever have a time in business where in order to complete a transaction, close a deal, do something that you needed to do, that you had to make an alliance with or create an ally with another person that maybe you didn't want to totally work with, but it was important to make an ally for that one purpose, and then the thing was accomplished and you shook hands and went separate ways?
Oh, I've made many a deals with the devil.
Well, maybe I'm not talking about a devil, but maybe just somebody.
Well, I'm using the word devil or Satan as the word adversary, enemy. I've had to make deals with adversaries that I knew were going to try to screw me.
Absolutely. And I have never, ever entered into any. I have very few spiritual allies in the allies in the spiritual realm, and I've never given away one scintilla of my sovereignty, divinity, or freedom. But I have on occasion worked with allies in the spiritual realm in a quid pro quo clarice type of a way, where it was a little give and a little get, but it was no give of sovereignty. And I think if we are going to move in magical realms and even move in spiritual realms,
yeah, I agree.
Maybe times where we're better served to enter into some alliances with some allies on a very temporary and very regimented and well-documented basis. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting that you're bringing this point. And folks, we didn't even talk before we got on here. So doing the research, it's the understanding of the names. So many of my former Christian friends, they're so scared of even the thought of Satan or Lucifer that they won't even begin to recognize that there is this host. Now, that's what we were taught. Mm-hmm. Well, since I've renounced that religion and realized, where we stand as sovereign beings, it's interesting that you said, so we need to know who the list of characters are.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it was originally probably Sun Tzu, but it was most recently repeated maybe by George Washington. Classic statement: keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer, and keep your spiritual allies yet even closer.
Yeah. Yeah. So the question I have then, so we seem to be in the midst of an ongoing, it's either the way it is or it's one long ass battle that there seems to be no winners or losers, just a lot of victims, which I think we are. There you are. So it's been getting me to think then, all right, so I did a video called The Rite of Birth Passage. Mm-hmm. So when confronting spirits, invoking spirits to cast a spell, let's say you need a we used to say financial blessing, and we were given the rituals as to how we could then make a demand upon God that God would then meet our needs financially, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I'm finding the same principle in magic. The only difference is that you're using a different set of gods or a different set of spirits to get the end result.
Well, Wayne, what I found, and I have some friends that are very high in magical workings, both in the Triskelion tradition and some of the, Hermetic traditions. And what they uniformly tell me, and what I have found to be true, is you can demand all you want, you can request all you want, but deity is going to laugh at you. They're going to scorn you until you have done everything within your power to do it, until you have exhausted your abilities, until you've exhausted your resources, until you've done all your work, inner and outer. Then and only then do you have any hope of deity coming in to assist you. They don't work with the lazy, they don't work with the dabblers, and they don't work with the merely curious. They might toy with you, but if you really want to be successful, you've got to do all you can do. And then maybe, depending upon your dedication and your spiritual level, and depending upon the intention that you have, then you might get some help from higher beings.
Well, there's others that would differ with that point of view, but nevertheless, you're still dealing
You're right to be wrong, Wayne.
Yeah, well, I don't know. You see, back in the day, in my youth, I actually met Anton LaVey.
Anton LaVey.
Yes, I did. And I actually performed a couple of rituals. So I know what it is to be in a coven. And I also know through that experience, there was something about me that didn't allow them to interact with me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have a body, the fact that we have a body, makes us, it's kind of counterintuitive. It's kind of ironic because, in my belief, we allowed ourselves to be trapped in this body, and yet, in the end, having this body gives us tremendous power, gives us tremendous swag, gives us tremendous abilities in the spiritual realms if we know what we're doing, because we have this body. And if we know how to use it and how to maximize and leverage all that we are, we can be very, very productive in the spiritual realm. I did a show yesterday called Living Happily Ever After is True. And I gave a step-by-step process of how anybody can do it. There's a program, there's a process, and it's duplicatable. And I'm living it, but it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, and a lot of practical application of prescribed actions. So I think it's possible, and you can live happily ever after if you're ready and willing and able to do the work.
Well, you just said something that's probably a 4-letter word. Oh, it is. Work. We
know
live
the old joke, Wayne. People are walking around in heaven, and Job is introducing himself, and he says, "Did you read my book?" And everybody says, "No, it was spelled J-O-B, and I thought there was too much work involved." So
well, it's true. Listen, we have a generation that has no work ethic. So, but that's interesting because that's what leads people many times into magic. They think it's a shortcut in order to achieve a means to an end. And I think that that's just it's exchanging one religion for another.
It is. And I think it's folly in the end, but
it is folly.
Yeah.
You have people today walking around totally confused. I asked a couple of people yesterday about their beliefs. And I said, "What do you believe about God?" And every person gets this puzzled look on their face. It's like they suddenly stop in the program and they go, "Well, I really don't know what I believe." And I went,
it's so interesting. I'm sitting here, I got some books stacked up to help my camera angle, and on the top is a book with an Ouroboros on the top of it. What are the chances of that? That's very interesting.
Very interesting.
Very, very interesting.
What do you think of Stephen Quayle?
One of my weaknesses, and I'll be very frank and upfront about it, one of my weaknesses is I spend so much time with my head in a book. I spend so much time studying and applying. And now that I'm in love with Sandra, I spend what spare time I have with her. So one of my weaknesses is I have very little time to look at anybody else's investigations and material.
Yeah. Well, check it out. He's got two that I am researching in. One of them is this one here. I found this one to be very interesting on his take on this. The second one that has literally blew me away is his book on exogenesis. This is a mind blower. This is a mind blower. His research into this area is remarkable. He shows, hello, Brian, how are you doing? Brian and Suji, good to see you folks. He shows sentient life being on a smaller scale than what we can imagine. That there is a life form that exists in bloodlines.
Interesting.
And this is what he's getting all into it. Did you hear on Friday what they've announced, what they've done in Japan, that they've actually now successfully breeded the embryo of a human and a chicken? The same thing is happening in the labs in India, where they have now created half human and half other animals. The one that they're working very closely with is pigs, because of the potential of growing a hybrid in labs for, are you ready for this? Organ harvesting.
Well, Wayne, as you watch people today, 70% of Americans obese, over 74% of American males approaching infertility. It gets harder and harder to distinguish the American male from the common pig. And I can imagine where they're, breeding humans and chickens, because they just want us to scratch out a living for them, as in a coop, in a cage. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. I haven't heard about any of that, but it doesn't surprise me at all.
I've saved the stories and all. I'll probably end up doing a show on this, because what we're seeing here, this is what I don't like about prophecy. Are we seeing a predictable program running here to where we are indeed seeing now the hybridization of our species with other species? And is this leading to the ultimate collapse of Homo sapiens as a civilization?
I think there's no doubt in my mind that the elites, be they religious, be they social, be they cultural, be they financial, the elites know who we are. They've always known who we are. They've always known our potential. They've always known our abilities. And now they're getting worried because they've known who we are for thousands and thousands of years. Now we're starting to know who we are. And they have realized that when we get the bit between our teeth, when we realize who we are and we realize who they are, the gig's up for them. So when I see these extreme measures, be they, electronic measures, be they energetic measures, be they measures of physical means, from, vaccinations through to this horrible chimera-like production of human animal hybrids, I think, Wayne, that you've hit the nail on the head. The goal is to disrupt and destroy this human generation, because I think they figured it out. We're the last generations of real humans, and either we're going to find out who we are, or they're going to prevent us from finding out who we are. And the one that comes into the truth wins. It's like Method Man, the great American prophet, said, and I'm gonna water this down a little bit, because I do have young subscribers, but he said, free your mind and your booty will follow. So the first person that frees their mind saves their booty.
LA story, Steve Martin. Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's take this to a step further then. 7.5 billion.
Rabbit hole. Let's go further.
Yeah. So there's 7.5 billion voices now that have risen the cacophony of our species' heartbeat. I think it's affecting the earth. You know, the Showman residence is now completely off. And I was out yesterday, and I got to tell you, I don't know what it's like in other cities, but here in the Denver area, people are angry. I mean, driving now it's a gauntlet. You know, who's going to flip you off first? We've had more and more incidences here of road rage where people are now pulling out guns. And
Wayne, they're trying to tell you you're number one.
Pardon?
They're just trying to tell you you're number one.
Yeah. I get that all the time. But my point is, there just seems to be this increasing buzz of tensions rising. And I don't know, what's it like in your part of the country?
Well, Wayne, I'm a little between and betwixt on that. You know, I understand, you know, all the, you know, the outcries of overpopulation. I've never heard it come from, you know, the angle that you're bringing it from. But I'm pretty sure you've done this. You know, I was a Pentecostal evangelist for 20 years. And for the first years, I lived out of a fifth wheel, driving. Since then, I've had occasion. So long story short, I've probably made at least 10, maybe 15 or 20 trips across the United States by car. And yeah, I know it looks like there's a lot, and at least 3 across Canada. I know it looks like there's a lot of people, and there are. But brother, sister, when you get in a car and drive from Florida to Washington, you will drive for days and days and days, and there's nothing. There's a lot of wide open spaces still in this densely populated country. So it's a little hard for me to believe that there's too many people on this earth. And yet there is something, I don't know if it's a cacophony or what it is, but there is something that has people on edge. I don't know if you call it, you know, the event or the rapture. And I think there's error in looking towards anything outside of us. The answer, the event's going to be inside, not outside. But there is something going on. I don't know if I could ascribe it to too many people, but, you know, too much noise, you know, maybe that's another thing I need to ponder.
Well, you know, I think about the population, and, you know, all I have to do is drive literally an hour and a half and I'm up in Wyoming. There is a lot of wide open spaces, but people can't survive. Particularly our civilization today they are dumber. They have less skills of life coping skills, and the crowdedation. You look at somewhere like Mexico City, population now 26, 27 million. You look like places in Houston that now are closer to 10, 12 million. Something has happened. And the problem is that the spaces that we are confined at is the problem. And when you get too many of us, that's why I don't believe in heaven. There can't be a heaven. There can't be a hell, because if you put all of us in hell, we're going to take it over. And if you put us in heaven, we're going to destroy it. It's just who we are. It's what we do when we get together, our species.
On that, when we leave these mud hut bodies.
Well, you know, I keep on asking myself on that one. If spirits exist, and apparently they do, then something else is going on. I mean, I cannot understand for the life of me, and I understand that I do not know what I do not know. And there's a whole lot that I do not know. But if there is the existence of multiverses, if there is the existence of living in multiple planes, that we incarnate into life, because I believe energy cannot be destroyed, then it tells me something's not right here. Something's not right. Why is it that heaven and earth, heaven and hell, as I call it, is so interested on us? Why this planet? Why our species? Why do they always jack with us? I don't know.
That?
Yeah. Why is it that they want to mess with us all the time? You know, that's what I want this to be a fair fight. manifest before me so I can see who the hell I'm punching at or who's my buddy. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think that if you get, and everybody knows I spent 20 years, well, not everybody, but I spent 20 years as a Pentecostal minister. I have a Bible college degree. I spent over 100,000 hours of study in the biblical scriptures, now approaching 40 years of study. And not just the biblical record, but the other records that the biblical story was taken from. I'm sorry if that trips up your theology, but to be very kind, the Old Testament writers borrowed very heavily from other writers. I say borrowed very heavily to avoid using the word plagiarize, but they borrowed very heavily from other writers. And from what I can piece together, and from having been a traveler to other dimensions, having been a traveler to other quantum realities, having been a frequent flyer in the astral realm, and having seen a lot of these things, and having been taught by great people like Dr. Andy Toltec, I believe that this earth was created by the Elohim, and it was created pretty much as an arena for us to be their, us, their creation. We're created in their image. It's been created for us to learn how to do what we're supposed to do, learn how to grow up and to be who we're supposed to be. Chickens have chickens that grow up to be chickens. Ducks have little ducklings that grow up to be ducklings. Cows have calves that grow up to be cows. Horses have ponies that grow up to be horses. The Elohim were divine beings. They had us. What does that mean? We're supposed to grow up and do. I think this world is here. It's an arena for us to learn to do what we're supposed to do. And it's time to stop whining. Why won't God help me? That's because you're supposed to help you. Grow up or shut up. Quit whining. It's time to get to work.
Well, there we go. Well, that's probably a little stronger meat than what most people deal with. They don't, in order for them to take responsibility, it means that then they have to begin to delve in beyond their own belief systems. And a lot of people just don't do that. You and I both know that, Jeff.
Like Sandra says, it's an inside job. And you'll either do it or you won't. And I don't have time to mess with the people that don't want to anymore. Love you. I'll pat you on the back, but I don't have time anymore. The time's too late. There's too much work to do. I'm looking for the people that want to work with us. Sandra and I, partners in life and this work. I'm looking for the people that want to help. I'm looking for the people that want to learn and share and grow. And the rest of you, well, bye. Have a good time. We'll see you next time around. But we got work to do. We're the last generation of real humans. Time to get busy. Are you a huckleberry? That's all I want to know.
Well, I think many people would have to watch the movie. So I have this up for a reason. I want to show many people that your story of Genesis, this is where that story comes from. This is the Chaldean account of Genesis by George Smith, who was the guy who actually found the tablets and actually the scrolls. So I just want to show people this very quickly, how part of that study is that when you begin to really look at this, you begin to understand that our history is not what most people perceive it to be, Jeff.
Absolutely not. And Wayne, would I blow your mind if I told you that the book of Revelation, you remember we've been reading the first shall be last, the last shall be first, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end is the beginning is the end. What if I told you that I'm now convinced 100% that the book of Revelation took place between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2?
Wouldn't surprise me. I think I've actually, that would not surprise me, Jeff. I think that, go ahead and expound on that.
You're a unique man, Wayne Steiger. Deborah L. Smith, Breaking Dawn, kind of dropped that little seed into my mind, and it grew like a tree of life. And in fact, I found irrefutable biblical evidence that makes it beyond any shadow of textual doubt, scholarly doubt, objective, empirical doubt, that the book of Revelation occurred between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2. All of those plagues and vials and the coming to destroy everybody and the blood up to the horses' bridles. It happened between Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 and Genesis chapter 1, verse 2, when the earth was made perfect by the Elohim, and then something happened to make it desolate, without form and void. And Revelation, textually unavoidable, fits right into that gap. And it was a being calling himself Yahweh. He wasn't even really Yahweh. He had usurped that name, the name of Yahweh and Marduk. Could we call him Yah Duke or Marway? But anyway, that being in a ship, Wayne, I used to think he was a dragon. Looks like it was a ship. He came and decimated planet Earth. Isaiah talks about it. Jeremiah talks about it. The writer of Genesis talks about it. The writer of Revelation talks about it. And it doesn't surprise me because they've totally screwed up the whole Bible so we couldn't know. And it's been hiding in plain sight all this time. And that's why the master said those with eyes to see and ears to hear are who he's talking to. We all have eyes that can see 3D. We all have ears that can hear 3D. But the master's talking to people that can hear and see beyond 3D. Clues like the end is the beginning. The first shall be last. Put them together. Revelation happened between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2. There's no doubt about it. I will stake my whatever credibility I have on it.
Well, I just want to thank the individual. I just saw that. Just $10 donation. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I can't see the chat today, so I apologize. I'm not ignoring y'all. I just can't see it.
No, it's a good crowd in here. It's just interesting. So
I'm sure I've been called the Antichrist at least 2 or 3 times. Or it's not noon yet. Well,
it's interesting because on Mars now they found an isotope. It's xenon, I think 230. Let me get it out here to make sure on the xenon 129. That is in the atmosphere of Mars.
Interesting. And Wayne, I'm getting a low battery warning. So if you lose me, that's what happened.
Okay. So very quickly, that isotope can only happen if there is a nuclear explosion. So I believe that there is good evidence now emerging where I think even theologians are having to take a look at this, that everything that we've seen in Ezekiel, everything that we've read, even in the Quran, if you read the Vedic, the Bhagavad, thank you, Jeff, it's all signs of a invasion force.
There's no doubt in my mind that Yahweh, either on his way to Earth or after his devastation of Earth, also devastated Mars.
I think so. Yeah. I think as well.
Wayne, one side of the moon, very, very heavily pockmarked with craters and stuff, and the other side of the moon, by comparison, relatively smooth. This is out of left field, but I think I got this as an intuitive hit. When the Earth was decimated, that side that was facing the Earth of the moon got all the blowback and got all beat up and destroyed. The part that's smooth wasn't facing Earth at that time.
It's interesting. Well, I still say that the moon was an arc for us.
It doesn't seem to be a natural formation. I'd hate to say that. It's a little woo-woo for me, and I hate to say things that I can't prove empirically, but there's just way too many questions about the Earth as a natural, or the moon as a natural satellite of the Earth.
Well, I love telling astrophysicists, and we have one of the best that's on every Monday night. Explain to me how that thing's sitting up there, how gravity is working here. Not buying it.
No,
not buying it.
Curiouser and curiouser.
Something's happening. I know that, when we get off on these things, I saw your show. Was that with Deborah that you had on? She was going through the what showed to be the giants.
Again, one of those things that a lot of people have said since Sandra came into my life, I've become measurably different, and I think that's true. Number one, because she is really good for me, but number two, because she brings such a strong feminine goddess energy into my life, which helps balance me out. Because everybody knows I was a little strong into the male sacredness. So she's balancing me out. But plus, Wayne, she's my meditation instructor. And now I'm up to 20 minutes per day meditating. And when you start doing that, you're able to step outside yourself. You're able to look at things much more objectively. And I think I've become less of an extremist, but I've become much more balanced. And I do want to make an announcement coming up August 1st. Sandra and I will be moving in together. So we're moving down the road on that. And thank you for all your prayers and support. But yeah, it is something that is definitely changing. And I think that it's happily ever after is real. I'm living it, and I'm just hoping to help lead more people into it. And these type of discussions of the reality of what we're facing, hopefully will motivate us to begin to take actions within our own lives. You got two choices: surrender or give it your total, everything you got. And is that even really a choice?
Well, it is for our species.
It is.
I had a crowd here last night, but I'm working, with Sovereign Key, and we're discussing the fact of we've got to get our species out of this spell that we're under.
Yeah.
The political systems are not working. Our social structures are not working. Everything that we see around us that has been designed that we thought was a aid to us has actually entrapped us more. And I'm seeing
on that before I forget,
Sure.
We talk about the new Jerusalem coming down in Revelation 21 in the future. Well, guess what, brother? The new Jerusalem came down between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2. Anybody that's done any studying knows it's either like a Borg cube or some type of a tetrahedron. And what it was is Marway, or Yaduk, the phony guy, thought he had defeated all his enemies. So he dropped the new Jerusalem, which is nothing more than a matrix control system, a matrix control grid over this planet. And that's what the new Jerusalem is. And we've been living under it all this time, thinking it's in the future, celebrating it. And now we know what we've got to fight against. So let's lock and load, brothers and sisters.
Trust me, the last Sunday when we did our show, because I'm still that way. I am ready to kick some ass. Think that there is some ass whoopings that are due to the spirit realm. Those that have been jacking with us, we're coming for you. And you know what?
We're gentlemen, we're ladies, but sooner or later you can push a gentleman too far. You can push a lady too far, and sometimes you find out that you don't know what you thought you know. And if there is any being out there that thinks they're going to stand against a conglomeration of sapiens and divinity that wants to work with sapiens, you better pack a lunch. I got news for you. We're coming and we're taking you down. And Deborah Smith said something, Wayne. There's even sapiens, and this goes back to your point about where did all these souls come from. There's sapiens here like us that have spirits that are from the Elohim, and there's other sapiens that either have no spirits or they've got some other type of spirit. They're an invading army working against us. So, hey, time is far spent. We know what we're doing. You know what? It might be the last great act of defiance, but you know where I live. Here I am. Let's get it on.
Boy, that's what I'm talking about right there. That gets the hair on my arms going and lets me get out there, because
we're through getting sand kicked in our face, Wayne.
Yeah.
We know who we are. And we know you know who we are.
And our numbers are growing. Our numbers are growing.
Let me just say it. Let me just say the line. Say when.
Well, all I know is this, my friend. There are people that are hearing this message. It's going out. And I'm telling people right now, I don't care what your belief says. You believe whatever you want. You and I have a commonality, and that is we're sapiens. We're born into this matrix. Listen, I think it's time we tear the matrix down. And if there are spaceships above that are cloaked, I'm telling you, we're coming after you. We're going to hunt you down like the dogs that you are. In fact, it's an insult to call you dog, because my dog is loyal. But we're coming after you. All the centuries that you have killed us, that you have used us for nothing more than the fodder of under your foot, we're about to break your foot.
Yeah. Wayne, one of these days, and it won't be that long, the people and the entities that have oppressed us for eons and eons and eons will be lying on the ground with a bullet in their brain, a proverbial bullet in their brain, just like Johnny Ringo. And we will be the Doc Hollidays kneeling down, patting him on the chest and say, "You were just too high strung.
Well, what I want them to say when they think about us is that those two boys are walking on water.
Yep. They're down by the creek. Walk on water.
I'm telling you, we're
That's
going to
what
do
it
this.
takes, Wayne. We'll walk on water.
We'll walk on water. I'll tell you, we'll join hands and we'll do this. I think that this
Hey,
is
like Anthony Hopkins said in the movie The Edge, what one man can do, another can do.
yes. You know, and that goes right back to the whole thing on the Tower of Babel. I think we were close then. I really do, Jeff.
Yeah, the Tower of Babel is sold to us as wicked man rebelling against a righteous God, when if you even read it in the original languages, it shows that it was a conglomeration, just like now, Wayne. And I have a great subscriber named Mazen Brooks. He always says, remember Babel. And just like now, and this is in my book, I think, Final Message of the Last Apostle, it was it says that the people of the earth were under slavery to Marway or Yaduk, the fake god. And they came to themselves and said, you know what? Why are we doing this? We can fight again. And they said, you know what? We'd rather fight and die than to live like slaves. Just like, who was it? I can't remember who now said that too in the scriptures. But they rebelled against Yahweh. They almost made it, Wayne. They almost made it. But I'm going to say this, it's controversial. The people that would become the Hebrews sold them out, to an alliance with Marway, Yaduk. And they were this close, but guess what, Wayne? We're at that place again right now. And we're not going to be sold out, and we're not going to be defeated. Now, you remember the old Fram oil filter commercial? Yeah. You can pay me now, or you can pay me later, but you're going to pay, brother. What you going to do when we break out all over you, brother?
Oh, I love this because I'll tell you, you have to finally just get pissed off enough. And I think that's where we are. I'm seeing men and women rising up, saying enough of this. Let's throw off the shackles of division, and let's just come together. And I love that you brought up the whole metaphor. I mean, what happened at Babel? We were a threat.
Yep, and we are again. And you know, Wayne, in all of this, you know, I do all this, you know, Hulk Hogan and all this WWE and all this playing around. And, you know, I thought I was tough and rough and I knew what was going on. But I'll tell you, until a little 110-pound, 5'3", a little less girl walked into my life and showed me what it's really like to face off against a being that is set on dominating you, controlling you, destroying you, until I watched her take her power back, do the inner work, and boom, 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 and move into full liberation. That took it from the theoretical realm to me and brought it to reality that, boom, this can really happen. And if you haven't subscribed to Sandra's channel, listen to her videos, you're stealing from yourself. Sandra D'Angelo, go there and subscribe and watch that stuff.
Well, it's empowerment. Knowledge is empowerment. And what I have found, the most powerful of weapons are the ones that are the least pretentious.
Yep.
The smallest things. And that's where love comes in. You know, and part of sovereignty, identifying to these spirits, is that I am a sovereign being and that love exists in me. You know, I know now where that feeling of hate comes up. That's why I got out of politics. You know, you get that rise at that, and, you know, you're thinking, well, they can't be doing that. And I'm going, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's part of the trap, man. It's a trap.
It is.
We got to get out of that.
We do, and we are. I'm convinced we are. Some people don't want to come out of the trap. Some people don't want to come out of the cage. All we can do, Wayne, is open the doors, say, let's go. But we can't waste the time to go in and try to take people by the ear and drag them out of the cage. The people that are ready to run when the cage is open, the people that are ready to grab a pitchfork, ready to grab a torch, ready to storm the gates of the castle and take back our divinity, our sovereignty, and our freedom. Those are the people we need to identify. Those are the people we need to attract. Those are the people we need to empower. And those are the people that we need to work with. We're the last generation of real humans. Let's get busy.
And I want to say this. I have had some very interesting people write. We've got a growing audience. I happen to know we have a judge that listens. So,
Excellent.
that tells me the message is going out. People are saying, all right, what's this going on over here? I have no doubt that the government sees us potentially as a threat, because one thing I'm against, I'm anti-politics. I don't think we
I mean,
need
of course,
politics.
we're not advocating and never have and never will any type of violent armed overthrow of the government. That's not our game.
No.
We're in a spiritual game. We don't care about the kingdoms of this world. We're not trying to raise any armies, just spiritual armies. We have a spiritual battle. We're not involved in any plots to overthrow anything except our spiritual overlords and masters.
Yes, because the fact is, and I tell this all the time, what we have been doing isn't working.
And what's the definition of
Yeah.
insanity, Wayne?
Doing the same thing over and over again and saying, by George, why ain't this changing?
Yeah.
It ain't working anymore. And that's what we've got to do. And all I got to say is, way to go, Sandra D. Who'd have thought that, that's what I love about life. You see two energy forms, life people that come together. And, I see the same thing with Sue and Brian. Y'all have come together, man. And I tell you, when love happens, change takes place. And Jeff, what I've seen in you is just remarkable. A much more kinder Jeff is what I see.
That's interesting. I didn't think that I was that unkind before, but evidently I was. And, there's no doubt that Sandra has brought a lot more balance into my life, and her schooling me in meditation has brought a lot more balance and perspective into my life.
She's a powerhouse. I'll have to say that. I tell you, I love it. Love it.
She's a keeper. And it's really, really wonderful, to be in this place. And it's wonderful to be where I am. And, she gave me a ring for my birthday that, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's got the Alpha and Omega on it. And I'm like, Alpha and Omega. And she said, you're my Alpha and Omega. And that's where we are. So her beginning and end. And I feel the exact same way.
Love is grand.
It is.
I think we'll find other people that are single, that same thing will happen here. It seems to be happening more and more. So,
and happily ever after can happen. There's a duplicatable process. Go to my YouTube channel, Jeffrey Daugherty Show, and you can find it there. And yet it's absolutely duplicatable. And this is our time. I think that, and somebody, I don't know if it was Lit T or one of my subscribers said 2 or 3 months ago, I started joking, I found the one and he's me. And she said that as soon as I started saying that, she knew that I was about to find my true love, because that's where you got to get. You've got to do the inner work. You've got to realize, hey, I am the one I've always been looking for. I'm okay with me. Everything's great. And Wayne, I had decided I was going to be alone the rest of my life. And then when you're ready, things happen. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
We're going to do this, Jeff. I mean,
I have never been more convinced in my life, Wayne. I always feel ready ready to rock and roll. But today I feel more hope, more courage, more inspiration. And I'm not one of these number guys, but I was reading a book and I was on page 444. I looked at the clock. It was 444. Looked at one of my videos and it had 444 for views. 4 times in about 4 minutes, I saw 444. So I said, okay, and Sandra's into this. I'm like, I'll look it up. What does 444 mean? When you see 444, it means that you're exactly in the middle of divine favor. You're exactly where you need to be. You're on the right path. Keep going.
Keep going.
And that's what we need to do. The only way we lose this, Wayne, is if we quit.
We're not going to do that.
And I'll do a lot of things, but I will not quit.
No. The thing about it is we're seasoned. I still feel like I'm that young guy with the hair down the middle of his back, just loving rock and roll. But I realized something. Through everything that we've been through, I think that we'll be able to lend that experience, that toughness, that resiliency, the tenacity. One of the things that people said about Wayne Steiger going back decades ago in business, one guy said, he says, every time I see you, he says, you remind me of the proverbial junkyard bulldog. And I said, what do you mean? He says, you got a bone, you're not going to let go of it. And anyone try, they're going to pull back a nub.
A bloody nub, yeah.
growing up, I grew up in a state home, and it was tough. I mean, you know, you're abused on the outside, and you come in and you're with 100 kids that have all been abused as well. And the thing that I learned very quickly is that bullies are just actually just cowards in bigger bodies.
Yep.
And there was one guy, Lewis, who was just a bully. And I remember one day that I finally had enough, and I turned around and I pushed him away. Well, he hit me in the nose, but when he did, I said, I'm not going to take this anymore. And I ended up knocking him out. Never got bullied again. That's what I'm saying we're going to do here, Jeff.
Wayne, I had that same epiphany one day. A guy that always bullied me, always bullied me, always bullied me. And one day I turned around and I punched him dead in the face. And that was the end of it. And, you know, Sandra's been through that. There's other people we talked to that have been through that.
Yeah.
Bullies will be bullies until you, sorry, that's my tripod. Bullies will be bullies until you punch them right in the mouth. And then they melt like the cowards they are.
So we're going to do this to the unseen realm.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We're doing it right now.
We're going to get you. Well, my friend, it is Memorial Day weekend. Got plans?
Well, we're in monsoon season here, so I think we have a nice indoor play day scheduled for for Sophia, the youngest NCK subscriber, and I think it's going to be it's Sandra's birthday today, so happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Sandra D.
So it's birthday time, and it's just
you had a birthday. I gave you out a birthday wish the other night.
You did.
Yes, 55, right?
55. Sandra's not 55.
I didn't ask, and I'm not ever, I learned a long time ago you don't go there.
Yeah, but you asked the lady if she was pregnant. You should have known better.
I'll tell you what, lesson in life that, I still can go back to, I'm right back there today, and I'm still going, oh, crap, did I really say that? So, Jeff, I appreciate you, my friend.
Nice to be.
Good to see you. Everyone, have a great Memorial Day. Remember those who have served in uniform. Give them a hug. Buy them a free meal. Just say thank you. And Jeff, we'll see you next Sunday, probably over on your channel. And all my best wishes to the moderator.
And if you want to, I'm a veteran.
What's that, buddy?
I said, if anybody wants to buy this veteran a free meal, just let me know.
Hey, there you go. Thank you for your service, Jeff, as well. By all means, folks, let's buy Jeff let's see what we can do by donating him some number of meals.
I'm just kidding.
No. Well, I tell you what we can do. Make sure that you go over to Warrior Princesses, go to her website, her YouTube channel, and support her. That's a good place to put where we're feeding people, and it's coming from our community here. Jeff, I appreciate you, my friend. Are you there?
Take care.
Okay, buddy. All right, everyone. Be good to everyone. We'll see y'all later. All right. Bye-bye.